Hello, I'm Dr. Z live here at Universal Chiropractic. I'm with my associate doc, Dr. Marshall Dornick, and we have clinical intern, Dr. Anthony Amabile. Our topic today is going to be about a couple of our nutritional programs. One is the ChiroThin weight loss program, and one is our 21-day detox program through standard process. And a lot of times patients will wonder, well, why do chiropractors get involved into nutrition? And there's direct links as to why we do this. One of the most frustrating things as a chiropractor is, why aren't some of our patients responding to care? We want everybody to get fixed and feeling better like ASAP. Sometimes there will be patients that they're just not responding, and it's important to look at some of the foundational issues. So we have a couple programs here that help with those foundational issues when we talk about nutrition, diet, proper hydration, and so forth. One is the ChiroThin and one is the 21-day detox. So they both are great programs, but they have separate components to it, which may lead you toward maybe one or the other. The weight loss program, obviously, it's designed to lose weight. The 21-day detox is going to help you, detoxify your body, but one of the side effects is losing weight. But we're going to go through the details of each of the programs today, and get you to understand them and maybe decide if one of those are for you. But when we talk about like weight loss and how it affects the lumbar spine or the spine as a whole, as you can see here's a model of the spine. And when you look at the spine from the side, there's three major curves. We call it a cervical lordosis, a thoracic kyphosis, and then a lumbar lordosis. So when you're standing and you're moving around, you should be maintaining these curves at a certain degree through time. But now, unfortunately, things happen. We put on a few extra pounds, but what will happen is that pulls the abdominal area forward. And over time, that creates an extra strain on the lumbar spine. I'm not sure if you guys can see this or not, but it actually can cause irritation with the facet joints and possibly leading to disc bulges. So maintaining a proper body weight is important for reduction of lower back pain. And then when we start talking about detoxifying, we look at reducing inflammation. A lot of times patients will come in and they're doing everything right, they're doing their stretches, their exercises, they're properly hydrated, but there may be something that's causing an inflammatory response in their system. And that's where, not that the 21-day detox is just for that, but the ChiroThin program also addresses that too. But, with all that being said, we're going to get started here with Dr. Dornick. We're going to ask him a couple questions, and we're going to go back and forth and comparing one versus the other. Dr. Dornick's been in the practice how many years now, Doc? It's been
Be about 9.
9 years. So, but you actually started with me even before that as an associate. So it's been
Closer to 15.
quite a while. Dr. Dornick, he has a strong passion of helping patients with neck and low back pain, but he also, gravitates a lot toward athletes and, weight management and incorporating these components into the practice. Then we have Anthony Amabile Jr. He is actually going to be a chiropractor here this year. He's doing his internship with us, and he's been involved with standard process. How long, Anthony? That's been
about 8 years now.
yeah. He even received an award through Universal College, a scholarship with his involvement with standard process. So we have, two very intelligent individuals who have, not just the brains behind it, but they have the passion. These guys are in this industry for the right reasons. So enough all about that. Let's get involved with the details of the program. So let's talk about maybe like the supplement end of it first, Doc. You want to talk about the supplements of the ChiroThin program?
So the one nice thing that some people like about ChiroThin is it's not very supplement heavy. If you're just doing the basic ChiroThin package, all you really need is like the foods, and then there's these ChiroThin drops. And a lot of patients are asking, like the biggest question I get most often with the ChiroThin drops is there stimulants in there? These are stimulant free. It's a blend of like B vitamins, some amino acids, some other like vitamin mineral complexes that's designed to help the body hold on to its muscle mass, stimulate metabolism, and also kind of help suppress the appetite so patients can continue to lose weight without some of those severe hunger pains while maintaining muscle mass. The biggest piece of the ChiroThin program is we want to maintain as much muscle as possible, because that muscle is what's going to burn calories or fat at rest. So the more muscle we can hold on to, the better off we're going to be from a metabolism standpoint, and the ChiroThin drops really support that process well.
Yeah. And Anthony, the 21-day detox, it's a little bit more involved on the supplement end. Do you have the supplements here? Maybe you can talk briefly about them?
Sure, so it is a little more supplement based. So you start off with the SP cleanse, which what that does is it really helps like with elimination of like toxins. It helps support your healthy liver functions, and you take that for the first 7 days, and then from there you'll actually switch to the standard process green food, and that kind of does sort of the same thing, but it more along the lines. It supports like healthy liver functions, helps promote good gut flora, so that you actually have a better metabolism if you're trying to digest the next set of what you're going to be eating. And then we move on to the whole food fiber, and what that does is it also kind of helps. Same thing, the whole process here. It helps maintain a healthy gut flora. It helps with elimination of toxins, and it really goes good with the shakes. So this is going to be a part of the shakes, which I'm going to introduce next. And then the shakes can be used during the standard the 21-day detox, but you can also use it for everyday use. Like once you're done with this is something I use every morning, and this gets you all your electrolytes in the morning. It gets you all your all the beneficial, like your buckwheat, your vegetables, keeps you hydrated throughout the day. So it also helps promote healthy gut flora. Again, this is more to help detoxify your body. And the whole process here is about eliminating toxins. You have internal toxins and you have external toxins. External toxins being, whether it's like smoke out in the air or, the cleaning stuff that you use inside your house. And then you have your internal toxins like CO2 and, free radicals, things like that. So the whole process here is to help detox, your body. And these are the supplements that help you do that. Now they are a little more expensive, but through the manual, and if you did want to talk to me, I can show you how to take them, on a right regimen where it's actually doable. It looks like it's a lot. The first step might be, you're taking 7 of them 3 times a day, but it's not actually affecting your liver. They're all digested through the stomach, which is a beneficial part of being a whole food product. So.
And then just kind of jump off that, like one nice thing a lot of people don't realize with standard process is those are all like whole food supplements. Everything comes from their farm, which is like all organically based, all organic. Like everything in there is organic, so it all comes from their organic farm. So like everything is whole and natural and organic. You don't need to you can chew their multivitamins. They're like that, and they don't taste bad. They're just designed to be easy to absorb, and you really are fully absorbing and utilizing those nutrients from those supplements.
Doctor, aren't there a couple supplements that you can use in conjunction with the drops that may make the program a little bit more?
Yeah, and then as part of the basic ChiroThin package, we use this is also standard process supplement called Genema. This is an herbal supplement, and what Genema is good for, like a lot of research has found that it helps with blood sugar management, insulin levels, things like that. The Genema molecule is very similar in structure to sugar, so it binds to some of those sugar receptors in the body and can help with like those carbohydrate cravings through the initial part of like your ChiroThin or ChiroThin program, or just in general. If you're somebody that has like a very heavy sweet tooth or really like carbs, things like that, the Genema can definitely help with that. So that's one that we include in there, and then we also have the standard process daily fundamentals, which is like a whole food multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement. Even though like the ChiroThin diet itself is based around a lot of whole foods, things like that, there are some vegetables, some things like that that people don't necessarily like. So in order to make sure that we're getting all the vitamins, minerals, and things that we need to support that weight loss process, help with the inflammation, because that's also another big piece of why we're doing that, is to bring down inflammation, pain, and things like that, while also losing weight. So it's like you get all that too from these daily fundamentals.
Yeah, so when you sign up for the ChiroThin program, you also get the standard process supplements that Dr. Dornick had talked about. Now, one of the other differences,
I did want to mention though too, with the Genema, you can actually use that with the 21-day detox too. It really helps with balancing your blood sugar levels, so you don't have that craving, that sweet tooth. And we use that also with the 10-day blood sugar cleanse too. It's just a great product to kind of help people get over those cravings that you have, on a daily basis. So.
Yeah, so that's the supplement end of it, and again, we can get into a lot more details if you're interested, to learn the structure of how to, incorporate that into your daily regimen. But now let's talk about the nutritional part of it, because the diets, there are some similar components, but yet they are different. Doc, you want to talk about the dietary component that the patient would have to follow through the ChiroThin program?
So ChiroThin, the dietary component from ChiroThin, for at least from like a food basis, it's a little bit simpler, I think, at least on paper to follow. So the big thing is it's all your lean, so it's a very low calorie diet that's based on high protein, low fat, low carbohydrate type macronutrients. And if you're not familiar with macronutrients, those are like carbohydrates, protein, and fat. So the big, again, like the big piece that I mentioned earlier is maintaining that muscle mass. So we really want to focus on getting the protein in with the ChiroThin, but while keeping the fat low. So the protein source is 93% lean or better, and that can come from a variety of sources. There's fish, chicken, game meats if you like elk or venison, beef, lean cuts of beef, pork, things like that. So as long as it's 93% fat-free or better, it's fair game. The other piece is fruits and vegetables. So most of the fruits and vegetables are based on a lower glycemic index type food, meaning they're not going to spike your blood sugar as much. So there's very few vegetables that you can't eat. Usually those are ones that are going to be a little bit more higher in like simple sugars, carbohydrates, things like carrots, potatoes, things of those nature. But like all your leafy greens, things like that, broccoli, cauliflower, everybody's favorite, Brussels sprouts, things like that are all included. A lot of the fruits in there, again, are kind of like what you would see more like a paleo type diet or like an Atkins diet. But again, there's like a variety of, like the only thing I don't think you can have, at least right now, would be like, or actually no, you can have apples, but like you can have apples, blueberries, all kinds of berries, melons, kiwi, like there's all sorts of like fruits and stuff like that. And then there's also free vegetables, which would be like your salads, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, things like that. So, and then the way the diet is set up is you skip breakfast, so you usually fast in the morning, and then you break your fast with a lunch and dinner, and the meal structure is 4 ounces of your lean protein, 4 ounces of an approved vegetable, 4 ounces of an approved fruit, unlimited amount of those free vegetables. You can have like a huge salad if you want, and then there's some approved lower glycemic index carbohydrate sources like Melba toast, or I don't know if you've seen like those flat out breads, those are included on there. Some like wassa breads, those are like little crisp, almost like a cracker, but they call it like a bread. So there's some, if you want some carbs, you can have some of those in there too. So like in structure, like it's very easy that you go to Wegmans, get everything you need without having to search high and low for foods on this. It's just, lean meats, fruits, veggies, and then like your free stuff.
Doc, with the diet, is there, when you're going through it on a daily basis, is there some intermittent fasting that's involved too?
Yeah, and I kind of touched on that a little bit. So like the micro, they call it micro fasting. So most patients will skip breakfast. So, and then your meals would be spaced evenly after that, usually like 6 hours in between, give or take. So that's like the fasting part. So whenever you finish your evening meal, then you're fasting again until lunch. So that usually the fast comes for breakfast for most patients. I have had a few people that work overnights, so their schedule's a little bit different, but typically that first breakfast meal for people is the one that you'll skip with the ChiroThin protocol.
Anthony, you want to talk a little bit about the dietary part of the 21-day cleanse?
Yeah, so pretty much, so the first 10 days are strictly going to be just mainly vegetables, all right? So you want to just, what we're doing here is we're eliminating a lot of the toxic type of stuff that we eat normally. So like gluten, soy, dairy, fish, or not fish, shellfish, eggs, all those allergens. And then we're also eliminating like things like sugar, salt, excess carbs, things like that. So, and alcohol, caffeine. So we're getting rid of all that. But what we're doing is we're gonna have basically it's more vegetables, so leafy greens, broccoli. You can have as much salad as you want. You do about a quarter cup of fruit per meal too. So basically it's kind of unlimited that way. You can mix in things like legumes, if you want like beans, chickpeas, things like that. And then basically as far as drink-wise, you're gonna just basically have water and maybe have some herbal tea here and there. And then after the first 10 days, you can add in 3.5 ounces of protein. Basically, you can check out like what, if your size or if you're a male or a female, what you should use. So you like to look at those macronutrients. But anywhere from like 3 to 4 ounces of protein, you'll add that to 2 to 4 of your meals a day. And then you're mixing your shakes with that as well. So you're gonna have, usually what I do, and I've done this about 6 times now, is I have a shake in the morning, right? So that's like my breakfast. And then I'll have, at lunchtime, I'll have, maybe a salad, or I'll have a mixed bowl of veggies, maybe some quinoa with it as well. and then you kind of set yourself up for dinner the same sort of way, right? So you have some snacks in between, maybe an apple, maybe some homemade guacamole. But the cool thing about the booklet that comes with the standard process detoxification program is that it outlines different things and how to do it, right? So it'll show you exactly certain items that you can either make, how to meal prep, and then I'm here for that too. So you can always reach out to me while I'm in the office and kind of ask me like, hey, do you think that this is a good idea? Or how do you go about doing this? Whether it's meal prepping or if it's, am I having these sort of symptoms? You can always ask me yourself. But as far as dietary, it is strict, but it gets easier after 4 to 5 days. I think we're going to talk about that next. Yep. But it's really not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah. So so when patients are going through the program, we don't have to get too involved in it, but like what to expect? Like, do they come into the office and they do some consultations with you and they follow up? So you want to elaborate a little bit on that? Like, sure. Just the patient coming in there starting off, and what to expect? What you're gonna experience, and what are some of the challenges?
So usually we start out with an initial consultation where we kind of go through like any health history issues that might be something to take into account for weight loss. Some people have like certain medications they need to take at a certain time of day. There's always questions about the drops or like how things will interact or interfere with certain medications, things like that. So we go through that at your initial consult. We go through, so like also like included in the ChiroThin packages, there's like an instruction manual. So most of the questions that you're going to have are going to be in here. So we kind of go through that instruction manual, make sure there aren't any additional questions that people may have. There's a video that kind of breaks down the ChiroThin program, how it was developed, why it works, and different things like that, and kind of a general Cliff Notes version of the ChiroThin program. And if it's something we decide to go ahead and do, we do like initial measurements. So throughout the program, we follow up once a week for the 6-week program. So ChiroThin is 6 weeks. So on that first day, we're taking your weight, height, and we use that to calculate BMI and things like that, just to kind of chart your health measures, health markers as we go. And then we do measurement sites around the neck, shoulders, chest, arms, waist, hips, thighs, and calves. So the reason we take both weight and measurement is usually through like weeks 3, 4, sometimes up even to like week 5, patients will see their weight loss either slow down and in some cases stall a little bit. The reason we have multiple measurements is so like people don't get discouraged. Usually if the weight stalls out, the measurements are still going to come down. The biggest reason the weight stalls for most people is your body breaks down fat, it turns it into water and carbohydrate. So you have to process that water and get rid of it. So usually what's happening is we're retaining water weight while we continue to lose fat. So having the measurements continue to come down shows that we're still losing fat even though the scale might not be moving. The scale is only like a brief snapshot at time of like what your weight is at that particular moment. But if we're seeing those measurements come down each visit, then we know we're on the right track. So we go through and take measurements at each of those visits to see where those are at, and then we kind of sit down and talk about any issues you may have been having over the past week. A lot of people have different questions about foods that might not be in the guidebook, different recipes that they want to try, different salads, seasonings, things like that. So we go through like any food issues that people may be having, kind of fine-tune things for the week ahead. And that's also something that patients can reach out to me with if they have questions. I give my email address and my phone number, so patients can send me an email or shoot me a text quick like, hey, I saw this at the store, is this something that I can have? Or I want to try this, is this okay? Things like that. So we kind of go through all of that at our regular follow-ups. And then at the second to last follow-ups, usually week 6, I'll sit down with patients and we'll kind of discuss what they want to do moving forward, so I have time to have something ready for that final weigh-in. So like, do you want to continue with the ChiroThin because there's a maintenance program? Do you want a separate like meal plan, eating plan going forward? So usually that's our week 6, and then week 7 we kind of tie everything up, calculate our final measurements, go through how we're going to maintain this weight loss that we've got, and kind of take it from there.
Doc, what would you say like the average patient should anticipate like from the weight loss department? I know a lot of it would depend on how much overweight they are when they're starting. What's your experience with,
I would say on average, most patients lose somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds over that 6 to 7 week period. Men tend to lose weight a little bit faster and a little bit easier, more so because men tend to carry a little bit more muscle mass, and then the hormones that we produce, the testosterone and stuff like that, again, also facilitate some of the extra calorie burning. So usually men will tend to lose a little bit more, but on average, most people lose somewhere between 15 and 20 pounds. The least I've seen somebody lose was like 12 pounds, but this particular person was already very lean and was just looking to lose that last little bit before a vacation. So like, there wasn't like, obviously the more you have to lose, the easier it's gonna be. I think the most I've had somebody lose is about 40 pounds, but this was a fairly large person too. But again, you know, on average right around 20 pounds.
And the nice thing about it is doctor supervised. So, you know, sometimes we get a little concerned with patients losing, you know, too much weight in a short period of time. And, you know, we keep a close eye on that because patients essentially are seeing on a weekly basis. And that's what makes this program unique, is it is doctor supervised. Anthony, you want to talk a little bit about like what somebody can expect, you know, with the 21-day cleanse? I know you talked a lot about it, so I don't know if there's anything else you can add.
Yeah, well, again, so with cutting out so much of like what you regularly eat, what you regularly drink, there are some side effects to it, right? So sometimes you might get a headache, you know, not having caffeine, right? People are getting caffeine headaches if they don't have caffeine for like one day. So going, you know, multiple days, it can get a little bit of a struggle, but there's ways to get around it. If you have to have like a half a cup of coffee to get through it, it's not gonna kill you, okay? But usually after day 5, usually day 4 or 5, you usually get this pattern down. It gets to become easy. It's like, for me and other people that I've had do this, I've known probably now, I don't know, I probably helped about 20 people doing this before, and it's kind of the same thing. Day 4, day 5, and then once you break that day 4, day 5, the cravings start to kind of get less, the headache starts to get less, the irritability starts to get less, and it becomes easy. And then over the course of time, you know, you do end up losing some weight. So I've seen it where like there's sometimes I actually have to add in like rice to my diet or add in protein early because I do lose so much weight so quick doing it. But again, that's why I'm here. So if something like that is happening, you can always email me or call me at the office, and I can say like, hey, like let's figure out a way to keep this going. I know that a lot of times people say, oh, well, I have this party going on, or I have this event, there's a wedding that I have to do, right? That doesn't mean that you need to not be able to do the cleanse. There's ways to get around this. And you know, if it's you're gonna have a glass of wine at a wedding or something like that, doesn't ruin your cleanse. And I think that's the biggest fear for a lot of people, is they don't think there's ever a right time to do it. And you're right, if you're gonna just basically say I'm gonna cut this out for good, well, it's hard to say there's a right time to do it, right? But like, you have to do it. I think that for the people that have done it, there's so many benefits to it, you know, as far as like the way you feel when you're done with it. You know, you have more energy, you sleep better at night, your skin looks healthier. You do lose weight. I had a person when I first started here, when I was doing the cryo sauna, and I helped this person lose some weight through the 21-day cleanse, and they lost about 30 pounds doing it. And I actually kept up with this person, and it changed his life. And that's why one of the reasons why I became so passionate about doing it and getting involved with standard process is because it's such a great product, right? It's all whole foods. We know where it comes from. We've seen the farm. We've seen where it comes, and it's all good product. But in general, again, once you get past the first week, it becomes easy. Once you get into eating protein after day 10, then it's really easy. It's like, you know, you can do a lot harder things in life. Once you can do this, it's like, you know, it's easy, and it gives you a better mindset when you're done with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I've done both of the programs, and a couple pointers that I always, you know, emphasize with patients is prepare yourself. Okay, so like make your grocery list, go shopping, and have like a schedule, because the worst thing that happens, for me at least, is like, you know, we have a busy lifestyle, and we want to follow this to the T, and okay, we're in day 6, we're gung ho, and all of a sudden it's like, I have no food to eat, and it's like, oh man, now what? And it's like, you know, it's so easy to grab something quick that's not healthy for you. But the cool thing about things nowadays is like they have like really healthy salad options, like salad bars. But you have what are the you know, the
Core Life.
Some of
their nutrition places.
So when I've been doing the 21-day cleanse now, I started doing this maybe like 10, 15 years ago, and you know, the best thing I could get is you know, the local salad bar at the restaurant. But now it's like we have a lot of options, but that preparation is key. You know, and it's not just the mental part, but literally, you know, having your refrigerator, you know, prepared for, you know, maybe you want to do shopping for 3 days, 5 days, whatever the case is. But that preparation is huge. It's going to make it so much easier for you throughout the program. And then the other thing that Anthony touched base a little bit about was, sometimes it's like, man, you want to have like something different. And it's like, I always tell patients there's good, there's better, and there's best. If you're doing something, you're doing good, okay? Don't beat yourself up if like one day it's like, I just had to have a cheeseburger. Okay, it's not going to ruin it, even if you're on the ChiroThin weight loss program or the 21-day cleanse. Don't feel like you have to pressure yourself and stress yourself to follow it to the T. We're going to give you guidelines to do the best. And obviously, we're going to encourage you, and we want you to do the best because you're going to get the best results. But don't feel that pressure. Don't feel that anxiety. It's very common with this. Is like people feel like they have to stick to this regimen, and it becomes stressful. So I always tell patients, just ease up a little bit. There's going to be a couple little cheats there. There's easy ways to do that. Like there's some things that are going to be off the schedule, and you can talk to these doctors about it. Say, hey, I'm having some really wicked cravings. I wanted to try this or that. Maybe it's like having, like for me, my cheat day would be having some eggs earlier. Then I can start getting that animal protein in. And it's funny, just having like 3 or 4 eggs makes a big difference. But it's not like I went off and I had like half a pizza. So there's things that you can do to, maybe if you're not doing the best, but you can teeter down the line a little bit. But that preparation is huge. The other thing that I think is important, and it sounds silly, is get rid of the carbs in the house. As crazy as that sounds, like those carb cravings can be pretty intense, especially around that. For me, it's like that day 4, day 5, day 6. I mean, if there's a cooking in the house, I'm going to smell it and I'm going to find it. Let me tell you, and I will. But if you spend you donate it to somebody, give it away, but spend the time to kind of clear that stuff out. And to me, it's like, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. But if I know it's around, I'm going to find it, and that's usually where I tend to like fall off the path a little bit. But those are some of the tips that I would recommend. I don't know if there's any other tips that you guys can think of, or.
Well, the only other thing I was going to say, and it's actually part of the cleanse. So it does call for 3 times of 15-minute activity, like exercise throughout the day. It doesn't have to be 3 15-minute times. You can do a half hour at nighttime or 45 minutes, once a day. It's good though to get up and move around. Sometimes I encourage patients to maybe set a timer on their phone. Go for a 10-minute walk, right? Like it's good for you because sometimes we have desk jobs, or we're working somewhere we have to stand in one spot for so long, right? And it's good to move around, do a little bit of exercise, maybe go up and down a flight of stairs a couple times, stretch out. Stretching is huge for this. It really helps with the mind and matter. Movement is medicine, and I think that it keeps you in this mindset that like, hey, if I'm going to be doing this, exercise kind of helps you. You're like, oh, I feel good. It boosts your endorphins, right? So your mindset's already like, man, I'm doing something good, and that's what I really love about the Santa Process 21-day cleanse is that you're incorporating exercise with this like healthier way of eating and dieting, right? So it's I think that really helps out with what we're doing.
A couple of things that I found to be helpful is like flavor. Season your food. Experiment with different seasonings, sauces, things like that if they fit within the program. Don't be afraid to add like flavor to the food, because a lot of people think diet, they think it's got to be bland and tasteless and things like that. But there's all sorts of salts and seasonings and different sauces that will certainly fit within the program guidelines that you can use to flavor things up and make it more appealing to eat. I remember once, because when I first did like a 21-day cleanse, there was we made like tacos with like crumbled up cauliflower, and it tasted just like taco meat with how we seasoned it, added some different spices to it, made our own like homemade salsa, something like that. So don't be afraid to add like seasoning and flavor to your food. It doesn't have to be bland, tasteless cardboard that you're trying to choke down.
And then, sorry to interrupt you, Doc, but that's a great point, because a lot of these seasons that maybe we don't typically incorporate into our meal prep, they have a lot of healthy benefits to them. And that was one of the things I kind of never really got into. I was salt, pepper, and whatever. But when I started doing these programs, I was like, well, how do I make this food taste a little bit better? And then it's like, wow, these foods actually have some, these ingredients that we're adding to make the food taste better actually have some medicinal purposes. That's a good point.
And then the other one would, like I think both of them mentioned, don't let like one bad meal, one bad day derail your progress. Like I have yet to have anybody go through the 6-week ChiroThin program and not have a bad week or a bad day, and they're still losing plenty of weight. So like you could it happened, fine. move on, get right back on that. So like, don't let those little bumps discourage you, because it's gonna happen. I just kind of plan for it, and again, like, nobody has done it 100% clean in the, how long have we been doing? 7 years?
Yeah, right.
I haven't had anybody go through and follow the program 100% to a T.
Yeah,
So
it's
like,
usually
don't let that derail you or discourage you.
So the other topic we want to, touch base is like, well, okay, this is great, we have 21 days, we have 6 weeks, but what about the rest of our lives? Okay, so, we're not gonna tell you you have to stick to these diets for the rest of your life, but the cool thing about it is, it's a learning experience, and you start to make healthier habits and healthier, incorporate healthier eating habits into your daily routine. You start making better decisions. I started getting involved in this, it's gotta be about 15 years ago. I wasn't, obese, but I didn't have a clean diet. I was probably putting a lot of toxins into my diet. And, I feel like, like the tools and the components of each of these programs that I can incorporate into, maybe not as much every day, but hey, if I'm having a few bad days, it's like, okay, I know, I gotta stop. Let's go back to, some of the basic fundamentals that these programs have taught you, but there's also, follow-ups to them. Doc, like when someone finishes the 6-week program, do they have options to follow up with you and stay the course, especially if they have a lot of weight that they want to lose.
So ChiroThin does have a maintenance program. They usually, I forget the exact amount of time, but I want to say it's like 6 to 8 weeks before, so you would go into a maintenance cycle, and that's something that we talk about, and you add some food back in, and you go off the micro fasting and add breakfast back in. But they have a maintenance plan for you to either like maintain or kind of stabilize your metabolism after that 6-week program. So there's like a ChiroThin type meal plan that we can get you set up with, and go through how that would work. But otherwise, like, patients are looking to get into something maybe a little bit easier to fit into your normal lifestyle. And so again, that's kind of what our week 6 is. We'll sit down and figure out what's going to work best for you. Do you want something based on like macronutrients? So like, you get like X amount of calories from fat, X amount of calories from protein, X amount from carbohydrates, and we set up a meal plan, and I give you like some sample breakdowns for that. Do you want to, like, some people want to go into a paleo or a different diet? So like, we sit down and we figure out what's going to work best for you and your lifestyle. We set up like some guidelines to follow in there. And again, you still have my contact information. Patients can reach out at any time if they have questions, if they need, their calorie amounts tweaked, or this diet isn't going, or like this meal plan isn't, working quite well. How can we change this to better fit? So like, patients can always reach out to me regardless of where they're at within the care, even if it's been like a year and some of the weight is crept back on, and you're not looking to do ChiroThin itself, but you want some tips. Whatever it's going to take to kind of get you back on track, reach out. Happy to help, happy to give you some advice, figure out what's going to work best for you. So there's always kind of options based on what's going to fit your lifestyle better, because that's ultimately what's going to help you succeed long term, is making sure that it's something that fits into your lifestyle. Because if it's something that's going to be a huge chore day after day after day, then you're more likely to fail. And we want to set you up for success. So we want to be honest with both yourself and with me, and then we can kind of figure out what's going to work best for you going forward. And like, some people really like the ChiroThin because of its simplicity. And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus here, but I've had, like, usually men, they like to do the simple things over and over and over and over again. So I've had a couple guys go through it, and all they're eating is lunch meat and frozen veggies and frozen fruit, day after day after day, just because it's easy. They don't think about it, which is fine. It's not optimal, but they're losing weight. When they get done, then we'll discuss what's going to work better other than just like lunch meat and frozen foods, because that's not the best meal plan going forward. So again, like, get through this, and then we'll figure out what can we do to make this a long-lasting lifestyle change that's going to get you to where you want to be with your health and weight loss goals.
Anything else you can add into that? We talked a lot about it already, but
Yeah.
in regards to after the 21-day cleanse, what can they do?
Yeah. So my big thing is like to try to keep the momentum rolling, right? I was going to mention before, one of the things that makes it easier for me is like setting up a calendar, right, and marking off those days. Every day you get done, mark off that day. I went through a whole day. It feels good. You go to sleep feeling good. Oh, and you wake up the next morning, like, hey, I'm rocking and rolling, and I'm going to keep it going. This also, the way we do things with the standard process 21-day cleanses, we actually enroll foods back into it. We slow roll them back in. So you might start adding dairy back in to start off. And you might notice that, wow, dairy really screws me up. But say you get through 2 weeks of dairy, and then you go to adding back in bread, gluten, right? gluten might be a thing that's been screwing you up, causing you inflammation, causing stomach problems. There's a lot of dietary components that are toxic to our body, with gluten, dairy, soy, shellfish, that you might never realize because you just eat the same stuff all the time. It's hard to figure out what is it. And what I like to say is, like, you know, set goals, right? So you want to set goals for yourself after this is done. So it might be what weight you actually want to get to. You might have gotten 15 pounds gone, but let's say, you know, you keep this diet up and you do it for another 3 months. I mean, you might get down to your goal weight. You might lose 40, 50 pounds over that long of a time of eating healthy. And then, you know, keeping a proper sleep schedule. You want to keep a proper sleep schedule. That helps, you know, refuel. It's a huge part of, like, keeping your mental mind state right. Keeping hydrated, and controlling your alcohol intake, controlling your caffeine intake, and then controlling your portion sizes, right? So, like, that's another huge part of it. When most people that I've seen gone through the whole program and have done it, including myself, doctors, yeah, I'm sure you can attest to this, Marshall. I think that it's huge that once you go through it, you can see that, like, wow, this is something that has actually changed my life. Probably 90% of the people that I've talked to that have gone through this can say, like, they have a mental mind put now, like, hey, I should not eat this all the time. Like, you could be that person that eats pizza 3 times a week. I guarantee you, if you do this program, you'll never eat pizza 3 times a week again. I'll tell you, like, it just puts it in your mind that you're just not going to do it. And everybody who I've talked to has actually completed this program, which I probably know a good 20 people, 25 people that have done it fully, and they have that mindset now where you don't want to feel the way you did before.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add about the ChiroThin too was the one thing that it taught me was how to manage, like, my meal portions. Before I would do before I did the ChiroThin, you know, a rack of ribs, I could wipe that down, no problem. You know, any day of the week, put a rack of ribs in front of me, I eat it down. The nice thing about the ChiroThin program is it actually trains you how to eat the right portions for you. You don't necessarily have to eat until you're full. So that was one thing that I really gained from the ChiroThin. Since I did the ChiroThin program, I haven't eaten a full rack of ribs. So I go and order half a rack. Or if I order a full rack, I save the rest for another day. But the other cool thing too, you know, that we really didn't touch base on, and this is where, like, you can look at some of, like, the long-term health is, you know, there's a thing called the system survey. It has, like, over 250 questions pertaining to your health, and it goes to a wide variety of different symptoms pertaining to different systems of our body. And then the cool thing about this is, like, if we have patients who have chronic low back pain, we actually see results in improvements with chronic pain and inflammation from doing this diet. So what the system survey is, you know, you either, with all these different types of symptoms, you either mark down to 0, if it doesn't pertain to you, or 1 if it's mild, 2 if it's moderate, and 3 if it's severe. You can actually do this with either one of the programs. And then you add up your total score. The higher the score, the worse you're going to do. And this was the driving force for me to incorporate it into the practice. When I did this program for the first time, I literally had a couple patients whose scores were over 100, like, adding it all up, and I was like, wow, okay, you don't really look like you're that unhealthy, but you're not on the right track. After 21 days, they were down to single digits, I swear to God. So it's amazing what you can do in a short period of time. But then the cool thing about it is, like, if you follow that system survey, and Anthony, you know, touched base a little bit about it, was, you know, you can see, like, certain groups of your body that just wasn't responding well to the way that your diet was. And then after 21 days, it's like he mentioned, you know, maybe add in some dairy. Then all of a sudden, it's like, bam, I'm starting to feel these symptoms coming back. And you know, hey, maybe you have a sensitivity to dairy that you never had before. Or maybe it's a gluten sensitivity or something along the lines like that. That's the beauty of taking the time to really, you know, look at that system survey and see where your health is now. And then after either one of these programs, fill it out again, and you'll be pleasantly surprised, on the drastic number of changes. But I know we talked a lot. We have a lot of information. If you guys are interested in it, talk to either one of us, and, you know, we'll set you straight. You know, let us know, like, hey, these are my concerns. I'm still not sure, like, which program to do. We work together as a team here, you know. So if you're not sure which way you want to go, talk to anybody here. You know, especially one of us three. We'll help you, you know, decide what to do. And if you are interested, you can call the office, 822-BACK. Set up a consultation for the ChiroThin program. It's a free consultation. Set it up with Dr. Dornick. If you want a consultation for the 21-day cleanse or get a little bit more detail, set it up with Anthony. They'll be more than happy to help you out. And if you have any questions for me, we'd definitely be more than happy to help you out. That's what we're here for. But they're great programs. We could probably go on and on and on talking about them. But again, this is a good starting point for people that are interested in it. You know, absorb this information, try to see which direction you want to go. I'm going to close out unless you guys had anything else to say. I think we covered quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's just like scratching the tip of the iceberg here. There's
Yeah.
a lot more that we can do with it.
If you can see, we could probably talk about this. Yeah, you can see we can talk about this all day long. So.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll close out now, and everybody have a good rest of your night.